Good afternoon. My name is Chris Adlam. I'm with Youth Pledge for Employers. I'm delighted to be joined by Rosie, the owner practitioner of the Crystal Rose Skin Clinic. Hello, Rosie.
Hi,
Hi,
Christopher.
thank you. Yes, Chris or Christopher. I'm happy with either of them. But thank you for giving up your time this afternoon to talk to me. I guess my first question really to you has to be: can you tell me about the Crystal Rose Skin Clinic and what it is you do?
Yeah, so my skin clinic has been operating for coming into the 6th year now, and it's a medical skin clinic incorporating a little bit of aesthetics as well, primarily sort of helping people get beautiful skin and treating skin conditions, multiple of skin conditions like acne, rosacea. There's all sorts of skin conditions that people come in and see me about. So that's what it's about.
Oh wow! I mean, I didn't even. I mean, you mentioned words there. Like rosacea. I don't even know what that means. Which I think is always a good sign that it's an interesting job when you talk about things that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how did you I'm not saying you didn't wake up one day years ago and you're like, I want to run my own skincare clinic, but what's your background? How did that sort of come to be?
Well, I'm a nurse. I qualified back in 2009 and worked in the NHS for 12 years, and sort of gradually climbed up the ladder and was a band 6 in charge of, I worked in the critical care unit in Ipswich Hospital. So I kind of reached the stage where I wanted a new challenge, but also I did have a dream, funny enough. I always wanted to have my own business. And because I was in the medical field, it was going to be something medical, something that I could do. I've got transferable skills and I could move that along and still sort of care for people, but maybe in a different way. And it's true what they say. It's how the business came about is I was talking to a nurse one day who had her own skin clinic, and she chatted to me for quite a while and sort of told me what she did in Reading with her husband, who was a urologist. And I think they owned 2 clinics. And just gave me the idea of, skin, right. And I love skincare and skincare products. I don't know any woman who doesn't. And it gradually sort of grew from there, really.
That's really interesting. And there's you've mentioned sort of 2 things there, which I want to sort of look at. I want to look at the aspect of you as a business owner and then sort of the health care, skincare aspect. If we look at the owning your own business part, so when you decided you wanted to go in for business for yourself, I'm assuming there were lots of things you maybe had to learn and figure out along the way, as I say, whether it's suddenly doing your finances, marketing yourself, those kind of things. So what kind of things did you have to learn, and what kind of ways did you go about learning them?
Yeah, so I've never run a business before, but I was fortunate that I had a small premises that was ideal to start the business, and it was the right time in my life because I was approaching a big, significant age, which was my driver. So I started with no knowledge at all, although saying that my ex-husband was a business person, so he gave me some support and some ideas. But pretty much I had to learn everything myself. I think I got some help through a company that sort of helps startups. So I had a little bit of help at the beginning, but I used to go networking quite a lot at the early stages of my business, meet lots of other business people for support and ideas and advice. And I had to be a jack of all trades basically and learn quite fast. But it soon became apparent that once I was starting to make a little bit of money, that I couldn't be, I couldn't do everything well. I was kind of taking shortcuts on certain things. So I quickly learned to delegate and realized that actually, why don't I concentrate on what I'm best at and what I enjoy the most, and then outsource anything else I could afford. So, yeah.
And out of the sort of, out of the parts you did outsource, or the new skills you had to learn, what did you find the sort of toughest part? Was it the networking and going out and sort of talking about your own business? Was it suddenly, as say, having to worry about whether it be payroll or managing finances, or what was the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest one was definitely networking, because I'd never done anything like that before, and selling was just out of my realm. I'd never done that before either. yeah, I found that quite tough. Finances obviously are always hard, but you know, I've been a housewife and I've owned property, so I kind of knew roughly
Yeah.
what to do. Although along my journey over the years, I have probably wasted a shed load of money, but you know, you learn from those mistakes and hopefully never do them again. But yeah, I would say networking and definitely sort of working out finances and where to invest next to keep my clientele going and keep my client base happy and introduce new clients to my business.
That's really interesting, and I've spoken to a couple of sort of organisations that and startups when I've been doing this role, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. Yes, that suddenly, as you say, going out there, having to sell yourself, sort of, market yourself. As I say, it's a completely different beast, and I've heard of all the startups I've spoken to have said actually that's been quite a common part that they found challenging is as I
Mm.
say, you've got all the practical experience of what you've set the business up in, but then when you actually have to start telling people that you've got that passion and you're good at it, it's
Mm.
a challenge. And if I look at the other side of the business, then, so I mean, from your nursing background, as you said, you're going to have a lot of transferable skills to being caring, being good with people. If someone was going to come in, say a young person, and want to work for you tomorrow, what kind of soft skills or traits, characteristics do they need to sort of work in this kind of field?
I would say the most important one is being personable, being honest, um, and adaptable. But just being able to get on with people, that's so important. A good communicator and listener as well. Um, yeah, those are kind of the sort of primary skills I think a young person would need if they were joining my team.
Brilliant. No, it's really interesting sort of, I say, to hear it from the business owner, the employer themselves, if you see what I mean, because it's one of those things where someone might see sort of need good communication or team building ability on a job advert, but what does it actually
Yeah,
mean, as you sort of said there, in your role, in your organization where you're working directly with people, literally, and I say in physical contact with people, you need to, as you say, be able to communicate with people, build rapport, because otherwise, I guess it's just not a positive customer experience.
yeah, that's right. Because they're putting a lot of trust in you. You know, it's their skin that you're dealing with, and you know, they're spending a fair amount of money as well. And if they haven't got that trust, you know, you probably haven't got that client. So yeah, listening and communicating, and just being yourself, really, just being really pleasant. Um, yeah, they're amazing skills to have.
And going back to talking about you as a business owner,
Mhm.
I will say this in advance. I know there's no such thing as a typical day. Very well aware of that. But for you as a business owner, what do the good days look like, and what did the challenging days look like?
The good days are I'll be in clinic. I'll have quite a few inquiries. I've got a fantastic website and online booking system. People will have hopefully booked online. Um, Clients coming in and sort of seeing good results if they've had
Yeah.
treatments already, meeting new clients and having a really good rapport with them. Um, yeah, that's kind of pretty much sums up a good day. A bad day is kind of IT issues, computer issues,
Yeah.
yeah, machines breaking down, or you know, clients sort of complaining about something or other.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are a little bit annoying.
And it leads me on to another question. So you talked about obviously your background and how you have a passion for what you're doing. You really enjoy sort of skincare and seeing the results of on your customers. For a lot of people who go and start their own businesses when it's something they're passionate about,
Yeah.
how to put it? How do you keep that passion going? Do you see what I mean? Once it becomes your job, if you see what I mean, like
Mm.
how do you sort of not, well, I don't want to say not get fed up of skincare, if you see what I mean, but how do you sort of keep your passion for it?
Well, I suppose I'm fortunate that my industry changes continually. It's consistently evolving. So I love going to exhibitions, conferences, talking to other clinic owners. I've joined lots of forums where I can sort of chat to multiple clinics and see what they're doing and what successes they're getting. And just every day coming in and knowing that I've made a difference to someone's skin, you know, someone who's had really low confidence, low self-esteem from a skin condition of some sort, and I've treated them, and then they've come back in and told me how I've improved their confidence and they're a different person. And the amazing reviews that I get, that just gives me such a buzz and keeps me going.
It's really interesting, because I think if you ask, if in my head, if I stereotype the responses I get from people, if I ask them like, oh, what's the benefit of running your own business, they'd probably say something like, oh, you know, I like being my own boss, or maybe I like the flexibility and stuff. Actually, it's really nice to hear, well, you know, I like the feedback I get from people. I like knowing that I've, as you say, you've played a part in changing people's confidences or perspectives about themselves. And I say, yeah, as you say, that must be so rewarding.
Oh, extremely rewarding. Yeah, I wouldn't change my job for anything else now. You know, it's not easy. It's like any other job, I suppose. And also because I work on my own, it can be quite solitary. But yeah, the benefits far outweigh the negatives, really.
That's amazing. And it leads me quite nicely onto my final question, actually. And I've asked this to all the employers I've spoken to. And, you know, you've told me a little bit about sort of your background, your journey. And imagine you could go back and speak to, say, I don't know, 17, 18-year-old Rosie. You know, taking into account sort of maybe the lessons you've learned, you know, successes you've had, mistakes you've made, you know, what would be the one piece of career advice you would give to your younger self?
Follow your dreams. Try not to let anybody stop you from doing what you really want to do, because that way you'll succeed. And have that drive. You need a lot of drive, a lot of passion, and mingle with the right people who give you positive vibes, who support you and give you advice and are willing to help. And don't be afraid of failure, because if you don't fail, you'll never know how to improve on things. So yeah, just have that passion and yeah, follow your dream.